I'm Emma, and this is Gabe, and we are sitting down with Sam Gardiner. She's our product manager here at Tilt, and we're super excited to talk with you today about some enhancements that we're making to the product and maybe where some of those things come from.
Thanks, Emma. I'm really excited to be here. As you know, I'm the product manager for our integrations team. And so one of the things that I thought would be really cool for us to talk about is as we've moved from small startup to be really ready to serve the leave management needs of a huge number of customers, a wide variety of business spaces, and kind of really diverse customer demographics. We have this whole swim lane in our business around integrations now that was not something we could have anticipated when we when Jen and our early leaders sat down and did that early napkin sketch about how do we make leave better, because honestly, when we're thinking about leave, we're thinking about how do we get just an employee to understand what it is that they need to do and feel really comfortable with the steps that they need to take to be ready to take a leave and to feel supported in the journey of taking that leave. In order to do that work well, we discovered along the way through our growth that we needed to be able to have a huge amount of data from our customers, because we didn't want to be the source of truth for any of that stuff, but we need things like an employee's working location, their date of hire, their salary, their pay history, perhaps. We need all of this data in order to make good, correct eligibility decisions for different benefits, to be able to advise employees on what state benefits they ought to be applying for, and to be able to correctly calculate pay. And so our response to that need, that real need, was to begin on a journey of building integrations. And we support integrations through SFTP or file feed, manual upload as well for customers that don't prefer to set up an automated feed. And we have several now existing partner integrations where we build out API integrations. Our latest is Workday, and it is coming out of a real customer demand where we had a subset of our customers who are Workday clients and who find both the act of building files out of Workday, as well as, and perhaps more significantly, carrying leave data back to Workday from Tilt to be incredibly painful. In order to serve the needs of these customers, we are now offering our one-way user data ingestion integration, where we get a whole bunch of data out of Workday, all of the data that we really need to make leave management decisions, eligibility decisions, pay calculations. And then we also will push back leave data from Tilt to Workday so that we can automatically keep leave time in sync between the two systems. There is no longer a need for an HR person at that company to manually put a person on leave. And then, of course, we know that, for example, in a parental leave, babies never arrive on exactly the day they're predicted. So we end up, that poor HR person who has maybe already entered the leave time now has to go back and enter it again and update it. Especially, we find a huge amount of pain for HR when somebody's on a segmented leave, or maybe they're taking 2 or 3 or more blocks of leave time, and then dates shift. Now it's not just one leave start, leave end update, but 3 or 4 or more. Sometimes it can really get quite a significant lift, and we wanted to be able to take that lift off of the HR team members that we work with via our Workday leave data integration.
I can imagine that's really complex, right? We're not talking about, oh, we have this idea while we're, trying to think of product enhancements that HR might want. Now we have multiple interested parties who are all trying to work together. What are some of the challenges that come into play with that? We have there's an entire other organization that we're trying to play nice with, and then how does customer involvement play a role to the extent that it does? Can you help paint that picture?
That's a really good question. I think Workday is a really complicated system, and with lots of good reason, because it powers pretty much anything that a Workday admin wants to do in Workday. They can do it. Workday is so highly customizable, so highly configurable. And Tilt is focused on creating a simple, seamless, easy to use product. And so to make those two systems, one very customizable, one that is more focused on ease and user experience, together was really challenging, but a lot of fun. I think our engineers, who all tribute to our engineering team, who have done an amazing job working on this feature, really struggled to figure out the mapping between those two systems to really make sure that we could keep our ease, simplicity while also meeting the needs of a Workday customer and making sure that we're getting accurate, correct data from Workday. So that was sort of our first hurdle. We got that mapping done, got approval from Workday as a partner to be able to ensure that what we were getting and how we were pulling information and pushing information back is correct by Workday's standards. And then from there, we spent a ton of time with our wonderful beta customers who helped us to define how this should work, both the user data ingest and confirming that all of the data we were getting was correct, giving us feedback about how we might do the two-way integration. So we started, we product managers like to do this. We like to start small and then grow a feature and release what we would call an MVP, a minimum viable product to customers. So our wonderful beta customers early on took just a sort of beginning user data ingestion integration and then worked with us to understand how we might put users out on a leave in their system correctly. They helped us understand what limitations they're willing to work with and what they weren't. And so we're still in the process of putting kind of the finishing touches on that experience so that all customers have a wonderful experience beginning to end. But we're so grateful to those early partners. And it's something that if I can, I really love to bake into our development process, is bringing in customer voice as early in the process as I can, and to get their iterative feedback along the way when possible. So whenever we can launch something, a small bite-sized piece of something, get feedback from real customers and be able to make improvements on that iteratively, rather than trying to imagine that we can predict all of the things that a customer might need and then getting 3 months, 4 months into development and discovering we've missed an entire use case. I really love when we can bring customers along, and Workday was such a wonderful example of real partnership from our customers.
I actually have a question that this brings to mind. Was there ever an example where maybe two customers had differing opinions on what they wanted to do, and how do you navigate that?
That's a wonderful question. Yes, and we haven't solved for it yet, but I have it in our sort of to-do list of things that we might do for Workday. So during our early development process, we got the feedback that there's a mechanism in Workday that allows an HR person to return a worker from leave. So the Tilt integration, by default, we will put a worker out on leave. And a question that I had for our early beta customers was, do you want Tilt to return your worker from leave? And the customers who were in our beta said, no, thanks. We prefer to keep that process a manual process in-house. We want the return, update the return date so we know that their return date is in the past. But until we know that there is an employee who is back in their chair at work, we don't want you to do that automatically just because the return date is in the past. We want ourselves to verify that information and really have control over that return from work process. And so we didn't build an automated return to work as part of the integration. Since going out with a two-way integration, I've gotten feedback from a couple of customers that are new to the integration that weren't part of that initial beta group that they would love for us to automate the return to work. And so it's something that we're working through right now about how we might support that. What else in Tilt perhaps needs to be true for us to be really confident that a worker is butt in seat back at work, because we certainly wouldn't want to change the status of that worker incorrectly. And that's the line that we're navigating. But that's something that we are going to add to our backlog of work. And as we can sort of fit it in, we may or may not deliver on that feature. But it's a great example of just very different opinions. And it is all rooted in different customers have different business processes. If we go out with that feature, were we to release a feature that automates the worker's return to work in Workday, it would be a setting, because now we know we've gotten this wonderful tidbit from our customers that some people want it one way, some people want it another way. And the answer to that is we should let it be a configuration that they can set in the product rather than something that we just decide how it ought to be. I have a lot to say about configuration versus customizability. Like, we here at Tilt believe in configurability, letting you have a setting if there's something very clear that you do or don't want, but we're not big fans of customization because leave is already complex enough. We don't want there to be so much customization that it increases the complexity and makes it harder for us to effectively manage leaves, also increases compliance risks potentially. So configuration, not customizability, is sort of a big tenet of our product development process.
Yeah, that's super fascinating. Something that I don't think I would have taken into consideration, but it makes sense.
Yeah. I love that call out of just an example of how like leave software, leave management in general is different from maybe what you would desire in a workday or your HRIS or whatever else. And I'm sure HR people would agree with that as well. Is anything ever finished? Like, do you ever feel like an enhancement or a feature, anything you're working on is ever like, yep, stamp of approval, we're done? Or is it always, kind of a work in progress?
So far in my professional experience, nothing is ever done, nothing is ever finished. It's really interesting. Uh, we're currently in the middle of an innovation week where we're doing some quick iterative product enhancements that are rooted in customer feedback and in internal user feedback. And the team that I'm working on for this innovation week is a team that is working on documents. And I was part of a team that did a huge amount of work on documents back in 2024. And it's very funny to be coming back around to all of these enhancements now that we're in the middle of. We've gotten some wonderful feedback. We have a lot of things that we knew we left them behind. We said, this is a great sort of minimum improvement to go out on. We made some further enhancements once we released, and then we left it alone to bake for 6 months or so. And here we are back months after finishing the work, doing a bunch more work on documents to make them a little bit more user-friendly, to allow multiple PDFs to be all uploaded at one time, to make the employee's ability to add another document a little bit clearer in the UI, because we were finding users were having a really hard time accessing that button or even knowing that that button existed. Perhaps adding a generic or other type document for when an employee has a piece of paper that they think we need, but they're not sure where it belongs, and just to rather than force them into putting it somewhere that is probably wrong, to just let them give it to us and let us decide what to do. So those are like small little things that we didn't think of when we delivered our MVP and our V1 of documents that now we know after 6 months of sitting around and getting real use and kind of test driven for several months, we have such great data to tell us, oh, these are valuable enhancements that we can add on to this feature and make it a lot more user friendly, and ultimately a better employee and better customer experience.
That's awesome. So never finished, but always progressing.
I think that's a great example of just how one seemingly like innocuous ability of a product can have so many different kind of like things and variables that you need to take into account. It sounds like in general the product process involves a lot of input from a lot of different sources, including the customer. What is it about leave of absence in particular that makes that like extremely important to make sure that we're getting like input from those who are actually using it?
If I think about the kind of customer, the persona of customer that tends to choose Tilt, these are customers who want to create a wonderful employee experience, who want their employees to feel really supported when they're taking a leave. But every customer has sort of different policies and different practices around leave and things that are unique to them. And we want to empower our customers to have their leave policies the way that they want and to be able to support their employees in the way that they best see fit. And so from my perspective, it is really important to have that feedback from a diversity of customers. We want different customer sizes. We want customers in different industries. We want customers with hourly workers. We want customers with salaried workers, because the needs of those diverse customers are really diverse. And when it comes to leave, our job is to keep our customer, in my opinion, create that wonderful customer experience and then keep our customers compliant. And we imagine that we cannot allow flexibility or configurability if it would ever put a customer out of compliance. However, when it comes to crafting their employee experience, they should be in the driver's seat. And so things like being able to customize a step in Tilt so that it can say what the customer wants it to say, that's awesome. And that's something that we want to invest in. Whereas when it comes to maybe modifying the language around the CIFRA benefit, we probably wouldn't allow that, because or it would be much more difficult for us to choose to update that step. We'd have to work closely with the customer and ensure that they'd work with their own legal and compliance team on the language, because our goal is, and our primary objective, one of our primary objectives is to keep that customer compliant. So our customers our customers are phenomenal. We have such wonderful customers that are such great partners to us, and they really understand this problem. They want us to keep them compliant. So when they ask for things, they always ask for it with this layer of, don't do it if it's going to take us out of compliance, or if it's going to create compliance complexity. They understand that. And that, I think, is why the partnership is so important, because we can find ways around, not around compliance, but we can find ways to navigate the compliance restrictions in partnership with our customers, to understand their needs, to ensure that the feature requests and the enhancements that they're asking for, that the underlying problem that pins those questions, that really is the reason that they're asking for that thing, is solved, while ensuring that that compliance layer remains intact.
Kudos to you and your team on that as well, because I'm sure there was like some education that needed to happen, right, in order for the customer to have like a full understanding, and to also be nurturing that relationship in that way of, hey, this would be great only if you think it would be great, or as long as you think this is a good idea. And I feel like that feels pretty unique. Do you feel like Tilt in general more uniquely involves customer feedback in implementing enhancements, or is that something that's happening everywhere?
That's I think that we have our customer success team here at Tilt is just phenomenal. If you haven't gotten the chance to meet these people, they are incredible human beings, and they are so savvy about leaves. They know the law far better than I do. And they are really deeply invested in nurturing that partnership with customers. So all credit really to our customer success team in nurturing a relationship where customers understand the delicate balance between keeping our product compliant and giving them the features and enhancements that they're looking for. I think our product is unique in that the partnership between CS and leave success, which here at Tilt are different layers, as well as product, it's just a really different relationship, because we are in many cases acting on behalf of our customers. And when I say we, I don't just mean our software, where like most other products that I've worked with, it's the software alone that is interacting with their customers' employee population. Here at Tilt, we also have the leave success layer, where our leave success manager team members are interacting directly with employees and acting on behalf of our customers. And also our software acts on behalf of customers. We issue designation notices on behalf of our customers to our employees. We accept or deny FMLA eligibility based on our data that we have about about employees. And so it's a huge responsibility to do that, to act on behalf of our customers in this space. And I do think it's unique in the software world. Some products do this, but to really act on behalf of an HR team member directly to an employee is a huge responsibility. And it's certainly one that we don't take lightly. And I think our customers appreciate that we don't take it lightly, and that we work really hard to understand, we being the leave success team and the customer success team and the product and engineering teams, to understand the customer's policies and ensure that they're executed flawlessly.